Welcome to today's Explainer. We are diving straight into an incredibly intense story today. It's all about the collision of sudden, massive wealth and, well, deep emotional voids. We're looking at a fascinating case study that asks a really tough question. What actually happens when the ultimate financial windfall is tied to the ultimate personal absence? It really forces us to weigh the tangible stuff against the intangible. Let's get right into it.
So to really wrap our heads around this, I want you to put yourself directly in the shoes of our protagonist. Picture this. You just got home from a brutally long day. There's an envelope sitting on your kitchen table. It's just plain white. Your name is on the front in clean black type, and there's a law firm's return address sitting quietly up in that top left corner. Honestly, it's so incredibly ordinary you almost throw it away. You literally almost mistake it for junk mail.
But man, it is definitely not junk mail, because inside that completely unremarkable envelope is a single letter, 3 short paragraphs, and a number. 8 figures that would make anyone's hands go cold. $50 million. And right alongside that number is the news that your father, a guy you've never met, never spoken to, never even heard his voice, is dead. And, get this, he left you absolutely everything. So right underneath the shock of that crazy number is this massive looming question. Who was he?
Now, you really have to contrast that unimaginable, life-altering number with reality. The next morning, the alarm goes off at 6:15 a.m., exact same as always, because reality is working the front desk at a dental office. It's scheduling appointments, dealing with endless, tedious insurance claims, and smiling at people who, let's be honest, just don't smile back. It pays the bills, sure, but not comfortably. It's a life entirely built on routine and practical survival.
Section 1. The envelope and the shock. The ordinary world meets the impossible. You know, looking at how this emotional absence played out over the years is super revealing. It shows how pure curiosity just kind of hardened into apathy way before the money ever showed up. Raised by a single mother who never talked about him, the protagonist asked about their dad at age 7, and the mom just replied, "Some people aren't meant to be fathers." And that was that. By age 9, the asking stopped completely. By 12, they convinced themselves they didn't care, and by 20, they actually almost believed it. That's 31 years of distance, suddenly interrupted. So, flash forward. We are sitting in the glass office of a lawyer named Richard Holt. A folder slides across the desk, and the sheer, absurd scale of this inheritance is laid out. I mean, we're talking real estate holdings spread across 4 different states, massive investment accounts, a private equity stake in a logistics company, the liquid assets alone, $11 million. And it's not a fraction of the estate, it's the whole shebang. Faced with all this, you'd ask the only logical question that makes any sense, right? Why?
In response, the lawyer opens a second envelope. He pulls out a handwritten letter, 2 pages, front and back, written in the father Gerald's small, careful handwriting. And the letter reveals something crazy. Gerald always knew everything. He knew the schools, the graduation dates, he even knew about the dental office job. He had been following his child's life from a distance for 31 years, but without ever sending a single birthday card or making a single phone call. Let's just pause here and let his actual words sink in. Quote, "I told myself staying away was the right thing. I was wrong. I'm sorry I ran out of time to say that in person." Man, that just sits in your chest like a stone, doesn't it? It leaves this enormous, hollow stillness.
Moving into Section 2, the illusion of wealth. Let's look at what happens when absolutely everything changes overnight.
Okay, so almost instantly, this sudden wealth acts like a massive isolating wedge. On one hand, distant relatives just start swarming. A cousin you haven't seen in a decade is suddenly texting. A bitter aunt who is nowhere to be found during the hard times. She calls twice in a single week. But then, on the flip side, there's Marcus. Marcus is the best friend who drove to the airport at 4 a.m. and literally split his last $200 when the protagonist lost a job 3 years ago. But now, sitting at dinner, Marcus is acting careful. He's super measured. He's terrified of saying the wrong thing. And you see this new, invisible distance creeping in through these really small, relatable details. The bill comes, you pick up the check, and he just lets you. He used to fight you for it. The sudden influx of $50 million didn't just pad a bank account. It fundamentally altered the dynamic of the most genuine relationship in the protagonist's life. It just dropped this huge gap between them, literally overnight.
Which leads right into Section 3, what money cannot resolve. We're entering the estate.
So actually walking through Gerald's house is a totally eerie experience. It exposes all these intimate details of a 19-year life that was completely hidden away. The place smells like old books and coffee. The hallway walls are covered in these framed landscape photographs and a picture of a dog that is an absolute stranger. It's basically the physical manifestation of an entire existence built completely separate from his own childhood.
But then, and this part really gets me, almost totally hidden between 2 larger frames in that same hallway is a photograph. It's the protagonist at 8 years old standing right outside their elementary school wearing this little blue thrift store jacket. The protagonist literally just sits on the floor of that hallway and stays there. Because seeing that photograph, it's undeniable proof that Gerald Mercer actively chose to secretly monitor his kid's life while choosing to never actually be a part of it.
When you think about it, there is this drastically unbalanced ledger at the very heart of this story. On one side, you've got these staggering assets left behind, the real estate, the private equity, the millions in pure cash. But over on the other side is what was deliberately withheld, a simple birthday card, a 5-minute phone call, just being there. It proves that Gerald Mercer woke up and chose silence and distance every single day for 31 years. And it really hammers home the point that capital can never, ever compensate for the things that absence breaks.
All right, Section 4, the ledger of absence. Let's see about finding some balance after the windfall.
So how do you even process that? We see 3 really deliberate, decisive actions where the protagonist starts taking back control. Step 1, sell the house. Just reject the physical space of the absent father. Step 2, keep the photograph. Hold on to that one piece of evidence that he was actually watching. And step 3, anonymously pay off the mother's mortgage. When she calls crying saying it isn't nothing, the protagonist just says, "I know, Mom, I know." They're quietly transforming this really heavy, complicated money into profound relief for the woman who actually put in the work to raise them.
And then comes what I think is the most grounding choice of the whole story. The protagonist goes back to work on a Tuesday. Right back to the dental office, back to filing the insurance claims, back to dealing with the people who still don't smile back. This decision shows such a deep desire for normalcy and structure. They choose that over the incredibly isolating illusion of a massive fortune.
True wealth in this explainer is actually revealed in a moment of restored connection. Marcus calls, he doesn't ask a single thing about the money, and he just invites the protagonist to grab food at their usual spot. And sitting across that table, Marcus is finally laughing again. He's not walking on eggshells, he's just entirely himself. By leaving the money virtually untouched in an account somewhere, it allows that genuine friendship to come back. Something fundamental just settles right back into place.
But that lingering question carried into the lawyer's office, who was he? It still doesn't have a clean answer. And honestly, maybe it never will. The source material puts this perfectly. Some men leave fortunes, some leave nothing. Gerald Mercer left both. He left behind a mountain of wealth for sure, but simultaneously left this massive void that no amount of cash could ever possibly fill. It really leaves us to wonder, what is the true cost of the things we withhold from the people we're supposed to love? Think about that for a bit as you go about your day. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.